our church is located in the heart of Queens, and Queens is a very diverse community. New York City as a whole is very diverse. About 500 ethnic groups and also 800 languages spoken in New York City. We have whole world in our backyard. Because God has brought the world to us, and we don't really have to go to China in order to reach out to Chinese. But then through Chinese here, you can also reach out to China. So our members, they have a heart for their own countries. And we can have a heart for the whole world, but then the kind of the heart that they have their own country, their own people, is very strong, and they will use whatever resources they have to help out. So we find the role of our church very important, not just being a local church, but global church or global church. So here in New York City, finding a location to worship is hard. We also realize that the churches don't have to be within church building. So right now in Flushing, we're using an office. There's no cross. We also have people renting the location for some business purposes, but we use like evening hours and weekends as church. But then still, for the people outside, whenever they're looking at churches, they see cars pulling into the parking lot and something going on inside the building. To them, it's just religious services. And then when it's over, they all pull back and go home. That's why church is, right now, to the community we're in, very irrelevant. And it occurred to me, what if we make Sunday a doing good day, where people come and worship, and then they all go out and serve our communities. If that's how church becomes, then people expect and they wait for Sundays. This is a day all the Christians come and they will mow our lawns, clean up our streets, and shovel the snow, and do all these things for us, free, no strings attached. And that will really change the whole the perspective of church from outside. Right now we believe that we're using all our resources to make whatever we're doing on Sunday, whether it's music, administration, building facility, programs, run perfect. And if we don't have energy left to go outside. And Sunday is the single most effective day for Christians, because that day we're all coming together with that cohesive power. If we can reach out and go outside and serve the community, then who's going to say no to that? And the gospel will be more effective, because before we tell them the good news, we believe we need to be good news for them. So we believe instead of just having a church planter planting, the whole church can get involved in planting, sending volunteers and teams and whatever resources we have. If the whole church is involved, then it's easier to plant a church. And so we decided to start ministry, Chinese ministry in our church. We prayed for it, and God answered our prayer, and now we have a thriving Chinese congregation in our church. And the same thing also happened with Spanish youth. We've been praying for the Spanish ministry, and we're able to start a Spanish congregation in our church. So right now we have Korean church, multi-ethnic English-speaking church, and Chinese-speaking church, and Spanish church, all one church working together as one church. One thing that's been recently kind of hitting my heart really hard was, now that we're going and building churches, what kind of churches are we building? And we can multiply the very format, breaking down the barriers, working together. That's what the kingdom is all about. Jesus' last prayer was all about us becoming one. Mm-hmm. And too often we've been just abiding by the homogeneous principle. And in doing so, we've been just unknowingly building up barriers. And when churches were so segregated and separated, and I know that one book said that church might have been responsible for the segregation in the society. So that was a shocking for me. And so it's all about breaking down the barrier, man-made barriers that separated mankind. We're able to bridge generation gap. We're able to bridge the cultural and ethnic gap, and all the language barriers, even distance barriers, and work as one church wherever we are. There's constant communication through technology we have. For instance, in the church in China, right now we don't have a pastor there, but people are meeting together for Bible studies. But on Saturday night here is Sunday morning in China. So we just Skype to preach to them. Our Chinese pastor preaches to them. So that's how it works. So we're trying to break down all the barriers and becoming one. That's beautiful in God's eyes.